It's been said that it's easy to lose touch with who you really are when you forget where it is you have come from. I have carefully examined the evidences of the Christian religion, and if I was sitting as a juror upon its authenticity, I would unhesitatingly give my verdict in its favor. I can prove its truth as clearly as any proposition ever submitted to the mind of man. Alexander Hamilton.
The future and success of America is not in this Constitution, but in the laws of God upon which this Constitution is founded. James Madison.
The reason that Christianity is the best friend of the government is because Christianity is the only religion that changes the heart. Thomas Jefferson.
The Bible is the rock upon which this republic stands. Andrew Jackson.
It cannot be emphasized too strongly or too often that this great nation was founded not by religionists but by Christians, not on religions but on the gospel of Jesus Christ. For this very reason, peoples of other faiths have been afforded asylum, prosperity, and freedom of worship here. Patrick Henry.
If we abide by the principles taught in the Bible, our country will go on prospering and to prosper. But if we and our posterity neglect its instruction and authority, no man can tell how sudden a catastrophe may overwhelm us and bury all our glory in profound obscurity. Daniel Webster.
America was born a Christian nation. America was born to exemplify the devotion to the elements of righteousness which are derived from the revelations of Holy Scriptures. That if they would see America free and pure, they will make their own spirits free and pure by this baptism of the Holy Spirit. Woodrow Wilson.
In 1945, an event occurred which changed the course of the Pacific War, and at that, American history. This took place on the island of Iwo Jima, which translated is Sulphur Island. It was the largest Armada invasion up to that time in the war. In 36 days of fighting, there were 25,851 U.S. casualties. 1 in 3 were killed or wounded. Freedom is not free. Because of the distance between mainland Japan and U.S. bases in the Mariana Islands, the capture of tiny Iwo Jima would provide an emergency landing strip for crippled B-29s returning from bombing runs. To say that it was a necessary victory would be a huge understatement. It was crucial. But the Japanese were ready. The island endured a ferocious bombardment, but it had little effect. Hardly any of the Japanese underground fortresses were touched. 21,000 defenders of Japanese soil were burrowed in the volcanic rock of Iwo Jima, anxiously awaiting the American invaders. From up on Mount Suribachi, every Marine everywhere on the small island was always in range of Japanese guns. The fighting was fierce. Historians describe U.S. forces' attack against the Japanese defense as throwing human flesh against reinforced concrete. Admiral Chester W. Nimitz said, "Among the Americans who served on Iwo Island, uncommon valor was a common virtue." More U.S. Marines earned the Medal of Honor on Iwo Jima than in any other battle in U.S. history, but by a great sacrifice, paid for with blood. On February 23rd, the U.S. flag was raised on top of Mount Suribachi, giving hope not only to those fighting, but to the whole country back at home. As the Marines lifted up the heavy pole, Joe Rosenthal captured the most reproduced photograph in the history of photography. As U.S. Camera Magazine put it, in that moment, Rosenthal's camera recorded the soul of a nation. Iwo Jima was the first place an invader's flag ever flew over Japanese home territory. Hope was alive again for the troops and for the entire nation. Similarly, there is a fierce war waging in the hearts of all mankind. This struggle against sin is so prevalent in our nation. But long ago, an amazing event occurred that gives us hope. A heavy cross was lifted up on top of a mount called Golgotha. The greatest sacrifice of all time was when Jesus Christ freed us from the oppression of sin by the shedding of his perfect atoning blood. Freedom is not free. Galatians 5:1. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free.